Peguero.
Welcome to another edition of A Good Show. This edition is the commencement of a series on the family. Today's episode, actually, Pastor Ellen, is on feminism.
Yes.
And this will also involve and continue on in discussions on masculinity and the role of mother and father, children in the family, child rearing, parenthood. And today's episode looks at what is feminism and the role that women have played historically, some women from biblical times, and also historically in more recent times, and how feminism has affected the family structure and masculinity. Pastor Ellen, what a lot of people do not know is that, especially a lot of young women, is that feminism, the concept of feminism, has evolved over a period of time. And it has actually evolved in what they call the 4 waves. And in an article from the History Channel, the first of those 4 waves was in 1848 and lasted until about 1920. The second wave was 1963 until the 1980s. And then the third wave was on the 1990s until the early 2000s. And from then until now, we've been in the 4th wave. Now,
interesting,
huh? Yes, and a lot of people think that feminism is a relatively new thing, but it actually is not.
Absolutely not. It's not.
Now, the first wave of feminism was something somewhat innocent. It was meant to make women equal in partnership with men for social reasons, such as the suffrage movement, right to vote. There was a reason why men didn't want women to vote, and that was not a lot of women were actively aware of politics, engaged or aware of politics, and so...
Well, they assumed that they weren't aware. That was an assumption to some degree.
This is true. Yes. This is true. But they maintain that argument, and incredibly though, the 1848 to 1920 movement actually also excluded black females from voting. So white females got the power to vote, but black females didn't.
Well, that wasn't here. That was
in the United States.
Right, correct.
Because we didn't have a women's movement here. We did have the Disqualification of Sex Act. I think it was 1965. But interestingly, and I'm not getting into the racism theory in this, but interestingly, feminism didn't recognize all women as equal. The 1840, the first wave. It was that all white women were equal. Right. And then the second wave from the 1960s to the 1980s, this is where we see women such as Betty Friedman and Gloria Steinem. And this was more about political strength.
Right.
And we see where more women were being elected in the United States and so on. And unfortunately, we have to rely a lot on the US base. There is some political history about the Cayman Islands here, and as a matter of fact, there is a local production called Her Story, which speaks about women empowerment throughout the years in Cayman, and Miss Annie Hulderbodd, Miss Emilia Scher, who wrote her national anthem and so on. The third wave of feminism, which started in the 1990s, this was where we saw a stronger push on equality between men and women, and now that has developed into something today where it has displaced men in our society. I think we've gone from being recognized or fighting to be recognized as a equal partner in relationships and society to now saying that men are unnecessary, they are the enemy, we don't need them, we can raise our children on our own, and that we can do everything that men can do. And frankly speaking and honestly speaking, nothing has been further from the truth.
No, because I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at equality, equality was something that was given to women from the inception of creation. If you read Genesis chapter 1, it's when God created Adam and Eve. Equality was given there, that the woman was made to be that helpmate right alongside of the man. And we had somewhat different roles, but we were complementary to one another. We weren't trying to overrule one another. So I think I think maybe, and just me, one of the things that pushed feminism was the fact that men themselves to somewhat caused that degree of feeling that women were less and women should just stay home and, you know, take care of the house and mind the children. So somehow, and I'm not giving them right, but I think it pushed. And when a man was really made to be, as I was sharing that thing with you, the lady out of Africa, governor of his house, to govern his wife and his children, to show them the image and the likeness of who God was through him. And then the wife complimenting him and standing there alongside of him. So I'm not giving feminism at the rate that it went to where women feel we're equal. We have, you don't tell me what to do, what to wear, where to go. I don't need a man, you know. No, that was not the intention. But we also have to recognize that men somewhat brought it upon themselves by believing something that was contrary to what God done. When God created man and woman, he said, I created them in my image. I created male and female. Don't confuse yourself. There's no third gender. Okay? He didn't make a mistake. And so you don't need to try to be, a female don't need to try to be a man, you know, to have her true identity.
So I think says that men understanding their role, provide and to protect the household, were quite happily going about what they saw to be their duty and their responsibility to their wife and to their family, to their household. I'm going to go out here, I'm going to hunt the deer down, I'm going to bring it back home on my back. And I know when I get home, you've already cooked some of the meat that you've preserved from yesterday because you're the good wife in the house. Now, she had the responsibility of nurturing her family, right? Which was an incredible responsibility. And I think that housewives have for too long been underrated because being a housewife is a lot of work and a lot of responsibility. She doesn't get a break all day long. I mean, if you want to prove your worth, be a housewife, you know, because you got to be the doctor. You got to be the counselor. There was a video that they put out once about that, about what it was to be a mother and a housewife.
So wife, yes.
And the guy calculated, because he was a businessman, he said, oh, that's about $260,000 a year. You know, so if you're looking at, you know, you want to really prove your worth and be worthy, try being a housewife for a bit. But there were some men who got it wrong.
Definitely.
And they took it that, you know, they were the sledgehammer in the household instead of the governor. Then there were women who got it wrong and who thought that their job was to command their husbands instead of respecting their husbands, right? And today we think that the word be submissive, to be submissive to your husbands, means that you get down on your knees, you know, and you do oh Holy One, bow down sort of thing, and that is not what it means to be a submissive wife. A submissive wife is one who a husband can talk his business with, and one who can say, "Hon, I don't have a degree in this area, but I don't think you're going the right way with this one. If it was me, I would do this." and respect her husband in all his goings and all his comings. Proverbs 31 speaks about a submissive wife. She was up before the crack of dawn. She had whipped her household into shape. She had all of her helpers fed and in order and everything. And her husband was the most respected man at the gates.
Yes.
Right? Because of her business prowess and the way that she managed her affairs and how she conducted
But also
herself.
because of how he respected her abilities outside of the household. And he recognized that this is a businesswoman. I mean, she, you know, she was a merchant. She did all these things, not neglecting her house,
right,
nor neglecting her husband,
right,
but they were complementary to one another.
Right.
They were not in competition. They were not trying to lord it over one another.
Right.
And I think that's where we get into trouble. She respected her husband. She could be submissive to this man because this man loved her like Christ loved the church.
Yes.
And they submitted one to the other.
Yes.
And when we start to beat down, we think that feminism is this thing that I'm going to do it my way, you know, you don't have anything to say to me about this or that. Then we're out of line because then we're disrespecting the partner that we sometimes say that God gave us. Well, we can't. You know, we need to understand that feminism is not about I'm in control of my body. You don't tell me what to do. And you don't tell me where to go. You don't tell me when to come. Well, that's not a marriage, and that's not a partnership.
Right.
You know, that is, if that's how you want to believe that as a woman, you have a right to go and do as you please. And the man thinks that, you know, you need to be here when I get home, food, cook, clothes, wash, and iron. Don't ask me to iron. I never fool with that too much. You know, we really need to bring this back into perspective and encourage people out there, you know, what it is to truly be a woman, you know.
Right. And you said just now about, you know, taking it too far could get us into trouble. And I think that's exactly where we are now as women, because we've pushed this buck so far that we've pushed it off the edge. You know, I did a speech, I think it was last week.
Saturday, a week ago, yes.
Yeah. And I said to the women in the room, I said, until we can go out there and lay asphalt, build sidewalks, and put up 10-story buildings, we have to acknowledge and appreciate that men are made for a purpose and women are made for a purpose, and we can't step over those boundaries or it's going to be disastrous. Now, we have feminism that moved from just wanting to get equality on social grounds to lesbianism and feminism, which then said it was wrong to be having sex. Women having sex was pure as snow. And that's in the article Out History, and that's a LGBT site. And this is what they put out there about lesbianism and feminism. And, you know, they say that, you know, women having sex with each other was as pure as snow because they were not engaging with the enemy. So men were now seen as the enemy. Now here we are in 2023, and we're in a fight to win the gold medal in sports, in women's sports, because we now have transgenderism that has also made its way into has tried to make its way into womanhood, because I'm never going to say that someone who is transgender is a woman, because I know that a transgender woman is not a woman, because the biological truth of that is chromosomes say who you are.
Yeah,
clear. What I just said was nothing to do with hate speech. That's just the biological truth. And so we've actually pushed the buck so far that we've pushed ourselves over the cliff.
Yes.
And truthfully, it's going to take men to help stand up for women. Right back where it was, we were saying, oh, we don't need men. Now it's men who are standing up for women and saying, no, you can't compete in women's sports if you are a biological male, because you are robbing them of the very thing they fought for. They fought for women's sports. right? They have their own champions, and when you go and compete against them as a biological male, you are robbing them of their opportunity to win that gold medal, right? Now you have also transgendered individuals who say that they are women, who are taking over the positions in corporations that women fought so hard for equality
yes.
in the workplace, and it's all being taken away from them by the very males who they fought against through the feminist movement, right? And so I think one of the things that has happened is that feminism itself, while it was intended to bring a level playing field, fell into the hands of the wrong people with the wrong ideologies and has now created so much havoc in modern day society that it is time for us as women to acknowledge that women are women, men are men. We are equal partners in our relationship here on this earth, but we are not equal to men. Until the day we can go out there and we can lay asphalt roads, we can build 10-story buildings, we can change the bolts and the nuts and the tires on mega machinery with our hands, and we can kick down doors without having to call for male help. Until that time comes, we need to accept that we are women. We are magnificent
and I just want to interject this there as you say that, because there are some women who can kick down doors and lay asphalt, but that still don't make you a male. That does not make you a male.
That is the abnormality.
I totally agree with that. It is
existence.
But we also want to make it clear that because there are women who maybe listen to us who says, well, I mean, I work on a construction site. It still doesn't take away
from the fact that you are a woman.
That you are a woman who's able to do this.
Right.
You know.
And working on a construction site and being a construction worker are two completely different things. One of the winning arguments in one of the cases on a construction site, when a particular woman was fighting for equal pay, the question that was asked was, the employer said, I have no problem paying you equal pay. It's the rest of the men. All you need to do is you just need to put that beam up over the top of the door.
Can you do that?
And she couldn't do it.
Okay.
So you can't get equal pay to men because you cannot do equal work as men. And there's a biological difference in us. There's a biological difference between males and females. There are things that they can do that we can't do, and things that we can do
that they cannot do.
Right?
That's just the facts of the matter.
You.
Now, we can be equal in some jobs. I mean, the ones that you listed out there, I agree with you. I'm just saying there's the odd female who will.
And she's the exception to the rule.
She's the exception to the rule, but she's still a female. Mm-hmm. But she's still a female. And now, equality,
that's her as a common laborer on a job site.
Right.
Not her as a beam layer.
Right. So, but don't tell me that, let's look at one of the careers that has been dominantly male, and now it's no longer, it's still dominated by the male, but there's a lot of female airline pilots.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So equal right there, equal pay deserves that in that, because that female is not flying a plane to say that she is a man. It is just that she
has the skills.
She has the skills that is necessary and training. So that's where equal pay come in. So let's not confuse it,
Right, and that's equal pay. It doesn't take away, it doesn't change the fact that she is not equal to a male, because she in her existence is a female.
Exactly.
Her pay is equal to a male's pay. And that's the sort of equality that the 1848 to 1920 movement was trying to
project there.
Right, because they were trying to get across, look, we're human beings too, right?
It's gone too far. The bottom line is it's gone too far, because just trying to, what they intended was just to have those equal rights and be respected both in their roles as a female.
Yes.
But now, of course, then those who took it to the extreme,
Yes.
You know, it's gone. I mean, not to cut you off, sister, but I mean, we go back as far as Judges in the book in the Old Testament, when Deborah, a woman, I mean, and back then a lot of pressure was put on women to stay
in the kitchen.
In the kitchen. But this woman God selected, she was a judge, she was a warrior, she led Israel for 60 odd years.
She was a mother.
She was a mother, she was a wife. And she knew her place, but she knew what her calling was.
Right.
And I'm sure she had the respect of even those who didn't believe that women should have been in that position. And I think one of the things is that we keep trying to say, you know, overrule certain areas of life to believe that we can change our gender. We can't. We just can't not do that. We don't have that right to even do so. Now, I might get some backlash for this. It's not about hate. Listen, you have a choice. Choose what you want, okay? You can go ahead and choose, but that don't make that your choice is right.
Right, right. And I think, sis, that if we can get women to accept that they are magnificent in their existence.
Oh,
and
beautifully.
Carrying themselves in such a way. When I say carrying, I mean presenting yourself in such a way, right? But elegance, right? Respect. Never go into a room making a whole bunch of noise with foul language falling out of your mouth. That's never going to make you equal to a man.
No.
Enter into the room like a woman. Take your place at the table. Conduct yourself with respect, right? And trust me on this. All the men in the room are going to have their eye on you. And they're going to fall in love with you. They won't all fall in love with you sexually. I mean brotherly love, right? They will
respect.
Yes.
Respect.
And they will surround you. They will lift you up. They will protect you. They will provide for you because of the way that you conduct yourself. Listen, men don't want to be in competition with women.
Real men.
Right. Men want to take care of women. And we're going to talk about that when we discuss the issue of masculinity and what men see their roles to be. Men really don't want to be pushing women one side. There was a time when, yes, you know, you had to be rich, old, and in a very, very stiff linen suit to be somebody. And if you were the secretary, that was about all that you could be. And, you know, be grateful that you had that job, because outside of that, you weren't allowed to speak or be seen in the workplace, right? But things have changed. Men themselves have embraced women. They've looked at it, thanks to those from back in the 1848 to 1920 movement, and said, women are more than just beautiful. They actually have brains.
That's right.
You know, they do more than make that dress look good. They actually make this office work. And they have respected us. And they have loved us. And I have not had the challenge of not being appreciated or respected in roles that I held in the workplace. So pardon me if I seem a little biased to this, but I think it was because of the way that I also entered the room.
Yes.
I entered the room confident of who I am and who I was at that time. But I also greeted everybody in the room with respect.
Yes.
Right?
And that's the key, to learn to respect one another and to, you know, I think nowadays women have gone to the place that we talk down to our husbands.
Yes.
We degrade them.
Yes.
We say degrading things about men.
Yes.
And I mean, this is vast, okay? Because at the end of the day, where did we learn these things from? And what we're doing is carrying over things that maybe it's the way we were brought up, you know, so we carry that over. Maybe some of us were so abused and mistreated by our fathers or brothers or uncles and so forth. It caused us to feel like, you know what, all men are dogs. That's not true. That's not true. And until we, as you just said, we can learn to recognize who we are and the grace and the beauty that God has given us. Now, I'm not talking about physical beauty, you know, that inward beauty.
That's right.
The strength that He has given
Yes.
us. I mean, in the book of Peter, First Peter, there he talks about women, don't let the outward appearance be what your husband is attracted to. He didn't say you couldn't do that.
He didn't say you couldn't dress up.
He couldn't say, but don't
make
use
it
that, okay? Don't go doing all
depend on
this
that.
false stuff and trying to look like somebody else.
Don't place your reliance on your outward beauty.
On your
Keep your
outward
husband.
beauty, but your inward. So feminism has gone to a place where there is good in it, because I believe that there should be equal rights for women in various areas of life.
But that doesn't make you a feminist.
But that don't make you a
that
feminist.
is just a person who recognizes that each individual have a skill and they should be rewarded according to their skills.
Right. The feminist movement has gone over where they feel that I can be the male.
Right. I can do everything that men can do. And
that
I think
men can do. Wrong, you can't.
And what it has also done, sis, is it has also displaced their males. But before we talk about that, I want to share something with the public. We have amongst us another wonderful female who started up a great business called 7 Miles of Grace. And today, we have a gift to give to the first person who calls 7 Miles of Grace on our Sunday show that sees this broadcast, and you will get this lovely journaling book from number 6. You want to read it for him, sis?
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord makes His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face towards you and give you peace.
That, in addition to this 3-pen set, and look, faithful, trustworthy, steadfast. So you choose which pen matches your emotions in the moment. The details for this will be posted to the screen, and the first person who called 7 Miles of Grace will get this beautiful, beautiful journal.
To mention that they had watched the show and that was there. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So, thank you very much for calling so you can get your gift.
Awesome. Not
now,
quite.
sis, sorry,
No, it's
didn't mean
okay.
to cut you off, but the displacement of males in our society is now to the point where our men don't know whether or not to open the door for us. They don't know whether or not to offer to carry our things, stop and help us fix our flat tire. We've done an awesome job at confusing them. And I think on the next show, we'll continue this discussion on feminism, masculinity, and the family structure on our next show, next time on A Good Show. Thank you very much for tuning into this segment of A Good Show. You can watch A Good Show on Sundays and Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on Cayman Life TV, channel 33 on Logic.
We'll see you next week. Invite someone to tune in with you. Have a great evening.
A Good Show is brought to you by the kind donations of private sponsors like yourselves and the support of companies such as Media Warehouse, 7 Miles of Grace, H. Philippi Banks Attorney at Law, Dragonfly Cayman, and others. To become a sponsor, an advertiser, or to make a donation, email agoodshow@christian.ky.